the spoils and the protagonists. Brian Clough and Ray Harford doing it the Wembley way. Perfect conditions right across London. All roads lead to Wembley. Live on ITV this afternoon, the Littlewoods Cup final between Luton Town, the holders, and Nottingham Forest, the favourites. And they both know the way. Forest on 3 successive occasions, 78, 79 and 80. And since Littlewoods took over the sponsorship at the start of the 86-87 season, Luton have been invincible. They didn't take part in that inaugural year, won it 12 months ago, and here they are again today. 2 of the most successful clubs in the competition's history, which this year marks its 28th anniversary. Well, good afternoon from Wembley, where the Milk Cup, the League Cup, and now the Littlewoods Cup has been held since 1967. Anyway, let's get right down to business. He's back at Wembley today. You know who.
Brian Clough's scoring record was phenomenal. 251 goals in 274 appearances for his hometown Middlesbrough and Sunderland. England rewarded him with just 2 full caps. His bravery ended his career prematurely. Clough's knee was smashed. He never played again. So at 29, Clough moved into management. He started at the bottom, with Hartlepool United, as they were then. Derby County quickly saw his potential. He took over there in 1967. Within 5 years, they were out of the 2nd division and celebrating the championship, confirmed during a break in Mallorca. Peter Taylor used to be Clough's best friend and right-hand man. Professionally and privately, they seemed to be a perfect blend. In 1978 with Forest, Clough won the championship and John McGovern lifted the League Cup. Overwhelmingly, he was manager of the year. Next year, Clough's team were back here at Wembley for the first leg of a League and European Cup double.
Woodcock. And another one. Tony Woodcock.
Brian Clough took the trophy home, bought some fish and chips and watched the triumph again on telly. He'd made Trevor Francis Britain's first £1 million player. Francis's first European Cup match was the final against the Swedes Malmö in Munich. Francis was the match winner. In 1980, Forest retained the European Cup with John Robertson's goal against Kevin Keegan's Hamburg. That was Clough's last win. Since then, he split bitterly with Taylor. He's been passed over as England manager. He accepts he'll never get that job now. At 54, retirement rumours persist. He's always produced exciting, well-behaved sides. Brian Clough needs his team to win for him today. He admires talent of every description. It's pure talent that sets him apart in the business of football management.
Lee Chapman, what is it for you that sets Brian Clough apart then?
Well, for a start, he's got me into 2 cup finals and a semi-final of the FA Cup, which no other manager's done for me. I was sort of lost in France, really, going nowhere, and he's rescued me and got me here today.
I've said it's talent that makes him special. What is it from your point of view?
I think it's talent, yes. He gathers good players around him, but his personality is such that you want to go out there and perform to your utmost ability. And if you don't, you're not part of the team for very long.
How motivated are the Forest for this one here this afternoon?
Very motivated. We haven't won a major trophy for 9 or 10 years now, and we want to win for ourselves and the manager.
Is there a special desire, as you're saying there, to win this one for Brian Clough?
Yes, I think so. He deserves it. He takes a lot of flack at times, but he's very good for the game. He preaches good, simple football, and I think the fans want to watch Nottingham Forest teams play. So we're hoping we can do it for him.
Jim Rosenthal reporting for us today. Now, here's a good quiz question for you. Who was the first player to score 2 goals in a League Cup tie? It was in 1960. It was for Middlesbrough. Yes, Brian Clough, back in the days when the competition was nothing more than a trivial pursuit. But there's nothing trivial about it now. Last year, it produced one of the great Wembley Cup finals. Or perhaps finales would be more accurate.
The chance for Luton. Steen has scored.
sleepless day, that one for Luton last year. I think you said the worst thing about the whole thing from your point of view was being interviewed by me. Was that right?
Well, I don't think it was too bad at the time. It's just it was a big day, and I didn't expect to be interviewed then. So it was nice to be involved, though.
A terrific amount has happened to you personally, hasn't it, since you were thrust into that final last year?
Yes, it certainly has. There's been the Northern Ireland thing. I've been given games by Billy Bingham, which is very nice for me. And I've had more of a regular season this year. So that's something I was working on, and I'm pleased that I've done that.
Now, is this a relaxation day for Luton, bearing in mind what's been happening to you in the First Division?
Well, as you say, it hasn't been going too well for us in the First Division. We've only got 6 games left, and we've got to do. We've got to get some wins out of those. So today is a sort of a break from that. But as you say, it's a big day for us, and we're going to go all out to win it.
The slump has come since you qualified for this final, hasn't it? Has it been preying on the players' minds a bit?
No, I don't think especially so. It's just we haven't had the best of luck. Goalkeepers have been outstanding, and it hasn't been going too well for us. But I don't think it's any result of the actual game today.
Underdogs here once again. Are we going to see a repeat victory?
We hope so, Jim, yes.
Indeed, the last team to win the Littlewoods Cup and then get relegated in the same season was Norwich. That was in 1985. In fact, both finalists went down that year, Norwich and Sunderland. Let's hope the same doesn't happen to Luton. Well, seeing we're at Wembley for a major occasion this afternoon, a slight change of plan. After the break, we'll be showing you some of the goals from yesterday's First Division action so that at half-time we can concentrate a little bit more on what's been happening here. So a break now. After that, the goals involving the top 3, 2 for Arsenal against Everton to restore the lead they lost earlier in the day. Welcome back to Wembley. Our goal sequence in 2 parts today. The ones affecting the top of the First Division shortly, the rest at half-time. Here's Jim Rosenthal.
Arsenal began their game off the top for the first time this year behind the early starters Liverpool. Fullback Lee Dixon calmed their uncertainties after only 3 minutes. And that's his first goal for the Gunners. Radcliffe suspended, Dave Watson hurt. Everton had a bit of a soft centre. Rocastle with a fine bit of creation. That's the sub Merson, and that's Niall Quinn. He spent the season in the combination. A good goal from him and a vital one for Arsenal.
In footballing terms, this is the closest you'll get to a ride on the roller coaster. Just over a month ago, Liverpool were 19 points off the top. A change in Steve McMahon's fortunes, as significant as anything. Well, just like the Grand National, the Championship's a marathon, not a sprint. It's finishing power that counts. That and a bit of trickery as well. It takes guts to stay the course and ride the hurdles, whether the knocks be physical or personal. Brilliant Barnes, and Peter Beardsley's also answered his critics in recent weeks. Another good Liverpool build-up. Beardsley involved in midfield. He had a sparkling game. Now, Ray Houghton's one of the unsung heroes, sidesteps the bouquets as well as the brickbats, and finishes in style. It's the range of Liverpool's repertoire that's so awe-inspiring. John Aldridge can't play, you know. Remarkable that he lays on more than he scores. Beardsley's 8th in 9 games. It's also remarkable that Wednesday weren't too dispirited. It's no disgrace losing at Anfield. Dean Barrick's reply was only the 5th goal Bruce Grobbelaar's conceded in their 10-game winning sequence. And what a cracker it was. But Liverpool had the last word. It seems they'll have the last word in the Championship as well. A typical move, or is it just we take them for granted? Barnes taking his personal haul to 5 in 6. Liverpool averaging 3 a game since that winning habit became incurable.
Now let's take a look at Norwich at Highfield Road. Coventry City, something of Norwich's bogey team, but Norwich getting off to a flying start. Andy Townsend, Robert Fleck, good reactions from him, less than a quarter of an hour gone, and Norwich looking set for another away win. But Coventry want to finish in their best ever position, and the Sky Blues swiftly on terms. Speedy with a run, a good block from Gunn. David Phillips there with the rebound. Coventry superbly prompted by Speedy throughout. Really deserved the points. And the same two involved in the winning goal. This time, Phillips' shot that Gunn can't hold, and Speedy an appropriate scorer. A shocking week for Norwich. 3 defeats on the spin, though, and their Championship challenge now very remote.
Well, Norwich slipping. It's not beyond them yet, but 3 defeats on the spin, not really good enough at this stage. Arsenal and Liverpool going head-to-head at the moment and meeting at Anfield in 2 weeks' time. Well, there's an atmosphere of real gaiety at Wembley, and despite a reduced capacity of 87,000, plenty of noise that'll become a crescendo in just a few minutes' time when the teams emerge from the players' tunnel. You won't miss a thing, but before that, another short break. Welcome back to Wembley, and welcome to Ian St John. I think the thing that's struck us over the past half an hour or so, Ian, is there's a very friendly atmosphere here at Wembley today.
Yes, yeah, terrific. I mean, I battled my way through the fans coming around to this new spot that we've got here at Wembley, and terrific atmosphere. Nice to see Brian Clough with a collar tie on. He's adjusting the tie. Obviously, he doesn't wear one too often, because he talked about wearing the old green jersey, didn't he, as his working clothes.
Right.
But it's nice to see him looking smart.
Of course, the last time they were here, old Jimmy Gordon led them out, if you remember, so this is a bit new for Cloughie.
That is correct. I'm delighted to see him walking out, because, I mean, if anybody deserves to get teams to Wembley, Cloughie does. He's marvellous over the years, the teams that he's built.
Where does your favour lie this afternoon?
Well, I've gone for Nottingham Forest, you know, because Greavesy wanted to take Luton for some reason. He wanted to put the mockers on Luton. But I've gone for Forest because I really admire the way they play, and I think they're a super side. And if it goes to form, obviously they will win, because Luton's form of late hasn't been that good, has it?
How's that likely to affect them on this big Wembley occasion, Ian?
Well, sometimes you can come to Wembley and you know, produce brilliant form. I thought they were great last year, and nobody expected them to beat Arsenal. So again today, if they can find the form that I know they're capable of, because they can play good football, and if they find it, I think we're in for another cracking match. But I do feel that the Forest have the more skillful players, the better side.
All right, well, that's the view of Ian St John. Let's hear now what David Pleat's got to say about it all. He's with Brian Moore.
Thank you, Elton. It's a glorious afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. What a sight of Brian Clough, that most talked about of managers, never short of a word himself, and deeds, really, over the years that have, in many ways, matched those words. Ray Harford, we saw, a genuine, honest manager and a winner here last season, of course, with Luton Town. The teams will be presented to Mr. John Moores, a director of the Littlewoods organisation, in a moment. But you can be sure of one thing: all they want now, after weeks of waiting, is to get on with the action. Ian St John, we've heard, has gone very much in favour of Nottingham Forest. David Pleat, I think you have a different view.
Well, I've just got a feeling that Luton, without the pressure of the league form recently, beautiful day at Wembley, big occasion. They came through it last year with flying colours. They have a team that's going to play some good football, I'm sure, today. And they have a little bit of experience in terms of age on Forest, and maybe also a slight pull in the air. And then when Carl went out injured, I'm sure psychologically that might have lifted Luton also. So I think it's going to be a much closer game than many people predict, and I have this sneaky that Luton might just scrape it.
Although the bookmakers are making Nottingham Forest 11-8 on, and this Luton side here 100-30. Les Seeley on the left, their experienced 31-year-old goalkeeper. Forest being presented first. The last major title they won was back in 1980. That was the European Cup. They were also here in what was then called the League Cup, but they lost it to Wolves. But a young side that has produced some brilliant football this season. Two substitutes at the end there, Lee Glover and Steve Chettle, and there's Steve Hodge and Neil Webb. Such an influence he's going to have in the midfield for Nottingham Forest. Jack Dunnett of the Football League there as well. And now Luton, who find themselves just 3 off the bottom of the First Division, as opposed to Nottingham Forest 4th from the top. And it's been a terrible run for Luton Town since we saw them live on ITV, a thrilling 3-0 victory against West Ham at Upton Park. But since the second leg of that semi-final, they've not won a single game. Very relaxed. Ray Harford there at the end. Smart new tracksuits. Forest, typical of them, take a very casual approach to everything. Their players were surprised to find there were no special tracksuits being made for their Wembley appearance. They're wearing tracksuits that they wear every other weekend of the season. Well, it's one of the old cliches. We'll try and treat it as just another game. It can never be that, of course, but Forest are doing their darndest to make it that way. Roger Milford, the referee from Bristol. And now the national anthem. Wembley, a splendid site, but undergoing a major refitting operation at the moment, which is reducing the capacity to something like 87,000. And let's have a look on the two teams now. Luton, in fact, have reverted to the side that beat West Ham in the semi-finals. They rate that their best performance of the season. It means that in goal they have Les Sealy. Number 2 is Tim Breaker. You'll see him pushing forward down the right. Likewise, the number 3, the left back, Ashley Grimes. Number 4, the busy little midfield man, David Priest. At the centre of the defence, number 5, the skipper, Steve Foster. And alongside him, at number 6, David Beaumont, a Scot from Dundee United. He made his first appearance for Luton in the semi-finals. He's never been inside Wembley before today. Number 7, Danny Wilson, formerly of Nottingham Forest, right side of midfield. Number 8, the South African-born, American-educated Roy Wegley, a dangerous goal scorer, as indeed is the number 9, Mick Harford. He offers a real threat to Forest in the air this afternoon. At number 10, Ricky Hill, so much style and skill in the midfield from him. And at number 11, 20-year-old Kingsley Black, the youngest man in the team, left side of midfield. What about Nottingham Forest? Steve Sutton in goal. Number 2, Brian Laws, the right back, playing with protection over a gash. Required 20 stitches in his right hand. He fell on a wine glass. Number 3, that swashbuckling skipper, Stuart Pearce. 4, the brilliant young central defender, Des Walker, playing alongside the 20-year-old Scot, Terry Wilson, who wears the number 5. And at number 6 is Steve Hodge. At 7 is Tommy Gaynor, who replaces the injured winger, Franz Carr. 8 is Neil Webb. What a stage for his midfield skills. 9 is Nigel Clough, the manager's son and top scorer once again with 17. Followed at number 10 by Lee Chapman, 14 goals from him. And then at number 11, Gary Parker, once of Luton Town, scorer of that vital winner in the semi-final at Bristol City. The substitutes today, Darren McDonough and Raphael Mead for Luton Town, Steve Chettle and Lee Glover for Nottingham Forest. Our referee, Roger Milford from Bristol. Just doing the toss-up at this moment with the two skippers there, Steve Foster, Stuart Pearce, his linesman, Peter Brennan of Benfleet, and John Godfrey of Brownbills. Most people are predicting a game of goals. Just wonder, there are odds, of course, that Ladbrokes offer on who might get the first one. 8-1, Nigel Clough and Lee Chapman. 9-1, Mick Harford and Roy Wegley. 12-1. Hill, 14-1, Gaynor, Pearson, Webb, and down to 66-1, Des Walker of Nottingham Forest, who in fact hasn't scored in his 4 seasons with Nottingham Forest. Well, will Nigel Clough be one of them? At 8-1, Lee Chapman alongside him, the two main threats. But Mick Harford, who scored in both legs of the semi-final, as did Roy Wegley for Luton. And there's the young son. And his father, in fact, has changed out of his blazer in the second row. That's typical. He's changed into his tracksuit. Forest, red shirts. A young side, full of fantastic potential, but an unknown quantity just how they might react on a big occasion like this. Against Luton Town, the holders, who overcame Arsenal in the final last season in the most dramatic circumstances. Just a little bit of breeze that we've got. Absolutely perfect conditions.